Well, howdy there. Welcome back to the Pit Stop Ranch, where we like to pride ourselves on our independent thinking and occasionally we've been accused of being smart. Well, not really. I guess that isn't true. Anyways, today I'd like to talk to you about thinking. And what is some of the trouble it can get you into? Well, our sordid tale begins with our 1953 F100 Flow that you might recall from a few months back. If you haven't, I'll include a link to a playlist. The Flow, we decided we're going to go land speed racing with, and we got marching down that road. Figured out that slippery 50 shape got to do some good, and we can put all sorts of wacky stuff in it. And more importantly, we had it. You know, run it in production pickup with a flathead Ford in it, so that it gets, you know, it is production XF. Production pickup XF, and we can modify it and do a bunch of other stuff with it. Cool, easy peasy, no problem. Doing a bunch of research trying to figure out like how much horsepower we need and running some numbers. But one of the things we had to look up was aerodynamic drag coefficients. And in the process we found out, in spite of its curvy shape, it's not necessarily the most aerodynamic. It's not the worst by any stretch, but quite far from it. We did find out that the 97 to 2000 Ford F150 is the most aerodynamic pickup truck ever produced. Now, it said there's approximately the same time period, there's a Ram of the with very similar aerodynamic numbers, and hotly contested online debate whether which one is slipperier or not. However, this is where the danger of thinking comes in, because, you know, super slippery. I wonder what happens, because, like, you know, we were going to put the 260 V8 in Flow and run it in that class, that 260 and smaller class, and a bunch of other stuff, you know. I got thinking about it. Thinking about it way too much. I started looking some stuff up here and there and cross-referencing, and lo and behold, the 97 to 2004 F150 is one of the slippier trucks. Is one of the, you know, best aerodynamic trucks, especially with a tonneau cover. You can get it manual with a V6 whose displacement is just, you know, 255, 257 cubic inches by the time you do the conversion, so it's under the 260. It's 4.2 liters, and it's the same architecture as they put in the Mustang for forever. And for whatever reason, there's a actual aftermarket speed parts wise for that architecture engine for the Mustang crowd. And running the numbers, we needed stock or slightly better than stock horsepower to reach the to get to 140 miles an hour if you run the numbers. Oh, but, you know, buying another truck to go racing, who the hell. But, you know, well, we'll look at Craigslist just to see what's out there. Oh shit, it's Craigslist. Who knows what you'll find. So yeah, we found one. And some of you eagle-eyed viewers will notice it in the background for the last few months, but we're starting to get serious about tearing it down. We want to get it ready for the next next season, so we can race all season with it. And so I'm going to show you around Slow, our race truck. When you end up with a fleet such as ours, especially if there's multiple of the same make and model, it requires a naming convention to go ahead and be able to differentiate between all the various different vehicles. My normal naming convention consists of, is very original. It consists of the make, and if I got more than one of that make, then I'll include the model. It only really falls apart when then you have to actually add the year to differentiate between them. So you inevitably end up, you know, rattling off a full sentence before you start the full sentence that you want to describe your vehicle. So, for reasons, we named our original race truck, which is still a race truck, Flow. And so it only made sense to name this race truck Slow. So this is Slow the race truck. Right, I don't get it either. Anyway, so Slow is a 2002 F150 with the 4.2 liter V6. It runs and drives really good. The miles are not too bad. It has the obligatory mild oil leak here, there, and it comes with it. But it's all stock, all original, working air conditioner, whole shebang. So of course we're going to gut it and turn a race truck. That's what you do. Now this, we saw a couple, 2, 3, more or less in a price range that we thought was reasonable. And but we decided to go ahead and take the chance and look at this one because it already had the tonneau cover. And it is the budget, the poverty interior, so it doesn't have, the only real feature it had was air conditioning. Stereo was, you know, someone had an aftermarket stereo in it, and then they took it out and just put a blank plate in. And as you can see, we're busy stripping it out. We're in the process of pulling it apart so we can put the cage in it. We have some friends who owe us favors, who are fabricators and build scored trucks, whom have agreed to do that for us, install the cage for us, to save us a little bit of time and effort. They just need us to strip everything to make room for them. You know, priorities. Anyways, now it has a Mazda 5-speed, so where that shifts like dog poo. So we're doing the right thing, and we got a T5. Now the nice thing about this engine is, uncharacteristically for Ford, they went ahead and made the bell housing bolt pattern the same as another engine family. You know, it just seems, I don't know, weird for Ford. But it just so happens that the back bolt pattern on this engine is the same as the Windsor small blocks. So, you know, Ford, being GM in this instance, made it easy to go ahead and bolt a transmission out of that was available behind any small block Ford behind it. So we did the right thing and we got a world-class T5 from a Mustang that, and picked up a scatter SFI approved bell housing, 1/4 inch steel bell housing. So we will be able to meet the required safety on this thing. Now we'll need to adapt the hydraulic clutch to work with the T5. Fortunately, that is 100% available. We just need to buy the actual slave and then the shims to then work with the T5 clutch pressure plate. So it's not that's actually going to be pretty dang easy. Anyways, as you can see, we're really gutting it, and if anyone has a need for this vintage F150 parts, these are going to be laying around in the sun when we threaten to put them on eBay, but never ever actually get around to it until they're thoroughly destroyed by UV light and we get sick and tired of looking at them, and we need to use the big blue for something else other than storing crap on, so we end up throwing it out. So before that inevitable outcome, if you would go ahead and reach out to us, we'll make you a smoking hot deal on a bunch of F-150 parts, including airbags and dash parts. The other thing is, if anyone has a factory gauge cluster with the tachometer, that would be great, because we could use one for an, and now it needs to fit the 04, assuming because of, you know, plugs, but assuming the wiring harness is the same, it's just the difference in between gauge cluster to get the, so, you know, one step up above the absolute poverty gauge cluster. Now, of course, another thing we're going to need to do with this truck going to be wheels and tires. Of course, wheels and tires for land speed racing, with which we're going to be using for, is fundamentally different from any other form of racing. But we'll be showing you the hackery that we've landed on to get there to be able to use standard land speed racing wheels and tires. The other thing we need to do is we're going to be lowering this thing. Now, we keep debating. Rear end is the now quite popular Ford 8.8, which is a perfectly great rear end, especially for this application. There's nothing wrong with it other than it's a C-clip rear end. Now, we happen to pick up a new old stock, or a C-clip eliminator kit for the 8.8 that someone else happened to have on the shelf, and we got it for 1/3 the price. So, you know, we picked that up so we can go ahead and use the 8.8. That said, there's some temptation to go ahead and take one of our many 9-inches and put it back here for the flexibility of the 9-inch. Additionally, the 9-inch is 5 on 5.5 bolt pattern, and we can get the rims a lot easier for 5 on 5.5 than this odd, weird 5 on a 135 millimeter bolt pattern, which just so happens to be 15 thousandths of an inch smaller in diameter than 5 on 4.5 or bigger. I don't know. It's just enough that you can't interchange those wheels and tires unless you're willing to do some filing, and then of course it gets pretty sketchy from there. Anyways, so we're going to be figuring out this stuff as we go along over the next few months. We'll be working on slow. Well, we of course work to finish up Jimmy. Well, I hope you enjoyed introduction to Slow, our race truck, land speed racing truck. And hopefully you stick around and watch as we convert it from poverty spec farm truck, or actually poverty spec around the town work truck, to a full-blown true race truck. Now, once we are done, we've achieved the records we're seeking to achieve, or the initial record we're seeking to achieve with Slow. Plan is to go ahead and do an engine and transmission swap and go for another record. And keep doing this with Slow until we get the land speed bug out of our system. And who knows, we might take it all the way up to 200 odd miles an hour, make it the world's fastest pickup truck or some silly thing like that. Or we might pick up a couple records, do 1 or 2 records with Flow, and then move on and maybe set it up for drag week or some other racing series that spark a curiosity. So if you would, leave in your comments some ideas of other forms of racing that we could do with Flow after the land speed racing. Let us know what you think of this generation F150, excuse me. And like, subscribe, share with your friends. After all, we are professionals, just not at this. So any comments from the peanut gallery are always appreciated. And have a race-tastic day.